Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patron, Jeremy B. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. Quick channel update, no video from me tomorrow on Friday. This weekend is my wife Ashley's birthday, so we'll be gone for the weekend. Next video from me will be on Monday as scheduled. And just FYI, if any of you guys ever wanted to connect, Instagram's probably the easiest way to do so. My ex DMs are a complete mess, so I'll have a link to my Instagram below, and I do plan to start posting again soon. And I really would like to meet a lot more of you guys, so if you're on Instagram, hop over here and come say hey. I had to pose this idea to you guys, curious how it lands on you. Should Tesla buy Uber? Right now it's valued around $93 billion. My answer, absolutely not. I think Tesla should do everything in-house, vertically integrate the entire robotaxi autonomous fleet whenever the time comes. And granted, I've only thought about this for maybe 15 or 20 minutes, but I'm still not sure what all of the data Gary Black is talking about, but let me know what you guys think. Just to clear the air on this one, the researchers actually have to have physical access to your Tesla. The researchers will present their finding next week at a cybersecurity conference, but they basically found a way to jailbreak the hardware that allowed them to get some of the paid upgrades like heated seats for free. There are also a few articles out there saying that these researchers found a way to get FSD for free, but according to TechCrunch, the researchers said they have not tested those capabilities yet, and it would require more reverse engineering. How'd they do it? Voltage glitching. They just fiddled around with a supply voltage of the AMD processor that runs the infotainment system. And the researchers' assumption is that Tesla would actually have to replace the hardware, I'm presuming the AMD processor, to actually fix this vulnerability. And we know Tesla does a lot with the hacker and cybersecurity community, and the more of these vulnerabilities that are found in a research setting, the better for Tesla. It looks like Unplugged Performance is now going to be outfitting some Model Ys for actual police fleets. This will be through their Upfit Fleet division, and the first one was unveiled recently at the Tesla takeover. They plan to deliver these vehicles to the police in South Pasadena, California, who have already committed to replacing their entire fleet with EVs. An Unplugged Performance exec said, "There's no doubt in our mind that the most capable, safest, most comfortable environment for an officer to spend the bulk of their day is inside a properly equipped Tesla police car." Agreed, this car looks pretty slick. Given this recent headline, I think it's time to put a quick PSA out there.
Every Tesla owner and passenger should know that if you are stuck in the car, either after an accident or if there is a 12-volt battery failure, the manual release lever is just above the buttons. Everybody needs to know that. It's important.
Just don't get in the habit of using that all the time. From Bloomberg Law, the company dealing with the fallout from their toxic chemical spill has scooped Tesla's head of general litigation as its new general counsel, the guy, Nate Smith, who was with Tesla since early 2021. Honestly though, lawyer turnover in this realm is completely normal. Woo-Wah shared a rumor from some employees at Shanghai that the Model 3 will be discontinued on August 14th and the new Project Highland will officially be put into production in the third quarter. It's not clear if discontinued means a hardline production stop on that day, or they're going to do a phase out, or they mean they're just stopping sales on that day. But in the event they mean production, that could be a month or so with no Model 3 production from Shanghai as they retool for the Highland production. We've talked about this one 5 or 10 times over the past 2 years, but now finally it is official. Superchargers in Canada have actually switched to per kilowatt hour billing instead of the time-based option previously. Drive Tesla reviewed some of the early pricing for this new method and concluded the same charge would be roughly equivalent in terms of cost if you compared it to the time-based billing. But we still need a lot more real-world testing. This will be a really nice feature once it's rolled out a bit more broadly. Tesla shared this tweet talking about a user who had a Tesla rental. You just scan a QR code and it downloads your entire profile to the rental, so you have access to things like the phone key, music, autopilot settings, etc. Based on this anecdote alone, FSD did not transfer, but premium connectivity did. Fremont filed another new permit, this time for a new tent structure, or a sprung structure as some call it. This one valued at around $750,000, but no word on what this one would be used for. Tesla playing a pretty impressive game of Tetris at Fremont. We got a very quick glance of the Cybertruck, potentially with a new wheel option. I'm really curious to see how many and what type of wheel variants will be available when the Cybertruck hits the configurator. We got the Tesla China wholesale figure for July, 64.2 thousand, down 31% from the month before. Here's the table with a breakdown, and if we estimate the domestic deliveries from the weekly insurance data, which is coming in around 31.5, that would leave about 32.7 thousand for exports for the month. This is the lowest monthly output so far this year, and we can sit here and speculate for a long time what's going on. Maybe there is some Osborne effect with people waiting for Project Highland. But a point I really want to drive home is you have to keep in mind the overall economy of all of these different markets that Tesla is now playing in, because they're obviously exposed to those factors. And there are myriad articles out there talking about how the economy in China is still pretty sluggish and not recovering as some had hoped, and they still have all kinds of real estate problems. And then you have bears coming out of the woodwork saying, well, BYD's selling a ton of cars, they're not having any problems. Sure, but the problem is that's not a fair comparison. Tesla has 4 models all in the luxury segment. BYD now has over 30 different models for sale, all different kinds of price points, predominantly in the lower, more affordable price point, which is exactly where consumers would flock when times are tough. Not at all taking anything away from BYD, because what they've been doing is incredibly impressive, but again, it's just not a fair comparison. And I know some folks are frustrated Tesla doesn't have a more affordable vehicle in that market yet, but the thing is, Tesla's not just gonna slap some things together and throw it out there. They're gonna do it the right way, and when they do release this product to the market, it's going to crush it. In Shanghai, to try to drum up some demand, Tesla is now offering shopping vouchers worth about $420, and they're giving these vouchers to 3,000 customers who buy a Model 3 or Y in August. After we had that special report from Reuters on the Tesla range situation we talked about last week, you kind of knew something like this was right around the corner. 3 Tesla owners in California sued Tesla in a proposed class action that accuses Tesla of falsely advertising the estimated driving ranges. The lawsuit alleges Tesla breached vehicle warranties and engaged in fraud and unfair competition. The lawsuit's 3 plaintiffs so far cite occasions when their Teslas didn't achieve close to the advertised range. I saw plenty of confusion online this morning about why wouldn't these people sue the EPA? Isn't it the EPA that sets these range numbers? Well, here's how it works. These automakers have 2 options. The first one, they can use a standard EPA formula that converts fuel economy results from city and highway driving tests to calculate a total range figure. Or option 2, automakers can conduct additional tests to come up with their own range estimate. The only reason to conduct more tests is to generate a more favorable result. Tesla conducts additional range tests on all of its models, while many of the others, Ford, Mercedes, Porsche, continue to rely on the EPA's formula to calculate possible range. However, the EPA could be looped into this somehow, because whatever an automaker decides, the EPA has to approve the window sticker numbers. Honestly though, to me, this one seems completely ridiculous. I'm not going to take the time diving into it, because it's a lot of the reasons I touched on last week when we talked about that Reuters special report. The short story though, in case you missed that, as far as we can tell, Tesla is not doing anything even close to fraudulent. They're just playing the game within the rules better than everybody else. In the event you'd like to learn more about the EPA test cycle and all of that methodology, I'll have this document linked below. It explains it pretty well and in depth. I do think there's an argument to be made that India is one of the most important geographies in the world when it comes to not only EVs but sustainable energy, so this deal between Tesla and India obviously has big implications. Not only that, but at the same time, we have BYD not really getting along with India as they're withdrawing their plans for their joint venture to build EVs in the country. An Indian official said India is uncomfortable with Chinese automakers, which could give a slight competitive advantage to Tesla if they can work out a deal and set up shop in the region. S&P Global is estimating that India will make about 1.4 million EVs in 2030, which would be about 19% of the total production. But again, this market is all about the future, not necessarily the past, because in 2022 they made less than 50,000 EVs for the whole year. To add to BYD's hurdles, they're facing an investigation over allegations they underpaid import tax in India. Ford is still facing backlash for its planned factory with CATL in Michigan. Some residents brought a lawsuit saying the process was moving too fast and they felt like their voices weren't being heard, but the judge rejected that lawsuit. However, now we have that same group that filed a brief that's urging the case to be pushed forward in court. This one will continue in court on August 9th. This is a big one for Ford as they need this factory up and running to start using those LFP cells domestically sourced for their upcoming Mach-E and Lightning production. Rivian gets a nice addition to its board of directors this time around, former Waymo CEO John Krafcik, who's been in the auto industry over 35 years as the president of TrueCar and the former chief exec of Hyundai America, among others. The latest news in the Toyota EV saga, they may be considering a Corolla pickup, not until 2027, but this is being reported on good authority from Automotive News. This product would be aimed at the Ford Maverick and would be built alongside the Corolla in Mississippi if approved. This one, of course, is just an artist rendering in Photoshop, taking the Toyota Corolla Cross and turning it into a pickup of sorts. But a Toyota Corolla pickup.
What is going on?
LG is in a flat-out sprint to build battery factory capacity in North America. They now have more than 300 gigawatt hours of battery production capacity, or about $17 billion of investments through 2025. They'll have 8 plants across the United States and Ontario by mid-decade. 2 of the plants are operational today, and the others are at various stages. According to Wood Mackenzie, LG has the most gigawatt-hour capacity among EV battery plants in North America that have been announced, are under construction, or are operational. Of these 8 factories, only 2 will be wholly owned. The other 6 will be joint ventures with companies like GM, Ultium, Hyundai, Honda, and Stellantis. If you're someone that's been duped into thinking lithium-ion is going away and solid state's going to blow up the industry, here's what the North American president of LG said. Right now, if you look at all the plants coming online, the chemistry and the format is mostly determined for the next 10 to 15 years. After that, there may be some significant adjustments, but the die is cast for the next 10 to 15. And just as the supply chain has been getting back to normal, in another month it may be blown up all over again, this time because of the UAW negotiations and the contract that's set to expire September 14th. Over a month in advance though, automotive parts producers up and down the tiers are preparing for a possible work stoppage next month. So keep in mind, it's not just the Detroit 3, Ford, GM, and Stellantis that may have to stop or slow down production, but all of the supply tiers for those companies. BMW just said it's going to raise its investment in electrification faster than planned, but it's too soon to set an end date for combustion vehicles. Zipsa, their CEO, said there's no indication that the world is renouncing combustion engine vehicles. This quote is almost too good to be true from Audi Australia's director, Jeff Mannering, who has questioned if EVs alone will be enough to power Tesla for years into the future. He said, "I'd be interested to see what the brand buy-in in the next 5 to 10 years is with a Tesla concept like that," referencing the agency model that does without traditional dealerships and instead sells cars at fixed prices online. Another quote from Jeff, he'd be really interested to see what does Tesla give you besides the car, hinting at the Audi experience where buyers can get drive experiences, restaurant visits with Audi ambassadors, or a foodie tour of Paris with a celebrity chef. This one encapsulates so well what makes Tesla special. For Tesla, it's really the product that sells itself and will and has been encouraging long-term buy-in, repeat customers, brand loyalty, all of the things we've seen over the years. But things like the Audi experience, that's fine. Maybe it's even cool, but Tesla has always been laser focused on the best product possible. So far, that's been the winning strategy. Don't forget, no video from me tomorrow on Friday. Should be back to uploading next Monday. Come hang out with us on Instagram if you'd like to. It'll be linked below. Hope you guys have a safe and enjoyable weekend. You can find me on X at DylanLoomis22. And a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.